Oh, hey everyone. So yeah, I'm just live in it. Just gonna go on notes. So the theme of this talk is the joy of making cool stuff with cool people. A lot of cool people who are actually here who I've made cool stuff with. So thanks for coming out. Who am I? I am, as Matt said, Justin Geller, but a lot of people call me JG. Here's a cool picture of me finding a giant JG letters. Just neat. So what do? I am an audio, video, and lighting technical designer, which for people that don't know that, I design the technical systems for these kind of things. So artists will come up to me and say, hey, I have this really cool idea to do this crazy stuff with tech, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I go, I know how to do it, and then I do it. I'm also a musician and producer. I make music, I write music, I do all kinds of stuff with sound design and music and things like that. That's a really old picture of me and my friend Billy. Look at those sideburns. Wait, I have a laser on this. Look at that. That was a thing 20 years ago. I'm a joy enabler. That's another part of my job. I let people know that it's okay to have fun, even when they're doing really hard work. That's me and my friends getting ice cream in Nashville after a hard day of work. I'm also the best dad ever. So I'm not going to talk too much about this, but I just want you to take note of how great of a dad I am. Okay, so what we're talking about today. We are going to talk about my early life. That will be very short because it's not that important. How I got started making cool stuff. More cool stuff with cool people, so that's be some of my work. Otherworld, and I will talk about the things that I made here and messed around with here. And then finally, how you can do cool stuff with cool people. So I will give you the recipe and formula for how to do what I do. It's not that hard. Okay, so in the beginning, like many people, I was a baby. So I'm going to skip the first 18 years of my life. So this was basically the first 18 years of my life. I was wearing weird clothing, I was listening to a lot of music, and awkwardly looking at the world. So this is basically the first 18 years, summed up. Then I went to college, and I met, let's see, so click through. I met my friend Lars Kreslins, who's actually sitting right there. Let's point this guy right there. So Lars was an important person in my life, and I'm gonna embarrass him now that even though he is here. I just did stuff when I was a kid, and Lars was the busiest person that I had ever met. He was in 2 or 3 bands at the time. He had a magazine, he had a record label, and we met freshman year in college, and he was like, get up, we have stuff to do. And so that kind of influenced me in my life of realizing that life is sort of for the living, and if you are here on this earth, you should take advantage of the time you have and do as much cool stuff as you can. So very formative. So that's when all this started. That's, 0 to 18, who cares? Meet Lars Kreslins. This is us in college, by the way. This is baby Lars in our apartment in West Philly. And I don't know if it already showed, but there was a picture. There was us doing video feedback too, which later became relevant in my life. So I made music. That was my whole thing. I was in bands. I made drum and bass with my friend Joe. I worked at 611 Records, which was an electronic music record store in Philly. What else did I do? I drank and wore nice suits. There's a funny story about that, but I won't get into it because I don't honestly remember most of it. I was in lots of promising local bands. Being in a band is great because you can get really good photos of yourself because that's like part of the process. So most people wouldn't be so vain to get photos of themselves. When you're in a band, it's totally an excuse. So here's some photos of me looking young, more photos of me playing. That's me DJing with a baby. That's the band I was in called Pink Skull with my friend Julian and my friend Joe. WKDU? WKDU, yes. Remember WKDU? There's me DJing with a cool white hoodie. There's me in another suit looking super cool with my friend Julian and a bird cage. What else we got here? So basically this is a show we played in Berlin. I'm just basically, flexing because I had a show in Berlin. The cool thing about being a musician, in addition to making music and enjoying the thing I love, is if you are a musician, most of the time you have no money and you're not making any money. So if you want to do something for your band, you have to learn how to do it. So if you want an album cover and you don't have any money, you learn Photoshop and you learn graphic design. If you want to make a video, then you have to learn how to be a video editor and all these things that, if you want to record your own music, you have to learn how to run a studio and do recording. So being a musician was kind of how I started to do all this, because I was always the guy in the band that was like, okay, I'll learn how to do it. And so I really enjoyed the process of learning things, and honestly, it probably was detrimental to my music career because I spent just as much time doing all the other fun stuff than I did to, making music. So, let's see. I feel like I set this up weird. More stuff in Berlin. I was on tour. Look how cool I was. It was great. This is what I would do in the band. I'm a musician and producer for a long time. Not a great musician though. You can see me sitting on the floor at this show in New York, playing with laptops and weird synthesizers and just kind of jamming out. That was sort of my role. I'm not a very good live musician, but who needs to be a good live musician? This is me DJing on a boat with my friend Ryan Minisance. So I'm gonna check my notes, see what my next slide is. Oh, somewhere in there, I owned a gas station and auto repair garage in Northeast Philly with my friend Nick. It was super weird. I did it for a decade. I was named Rusty because we didn't think Justin was a cool enough name for a mechanic. It had too many syllables, and Justin fixes your car, not your computer. So I was named Rusty, and by day I was this dude in Northeast Philly, and I'd be like, yo, Claus, what's up? You need brakes in your car? All right, boss, I'll talk to you later. Like, dip into it. That was my whole thing. And then by night, I was JG, cool guy musician. So I left the garage because I wanted to do cool stuff. So I decided I wanted to do cool stuff professionally. So I skipped that slide too quick. I'm going to line this up better. There you go. So the Bluetooth works better. All right, so the first big break I got doing, I was doing freelance for a while. The first big break I got doing this type of artistic technical design was for a company called Monument Lab. Company's a weird word, but they're basically an art thing, and they basically study monuments and they do all this stuff, and they had this exhibit in 2017. And my friend, Matthew Callahan, this guy right here, he recommended me to, I just want to point something out. There's a big bottle of wine in my pocket right there. I was, the staff people at Haverford let me take 2 bottles of wine, so I stole 2 bottles of wine. Or it was given to me. He introduced me to Paul Farber, who's the director of Monument Lab, and they said, we have an audio artist that's doing an exhibit, and they were like, we need someone to do this because this guy lives in Berlin, we need someone in Philly to do it. So he's like, call my friend JG. Matt and I have known each other since we were kids. There's a picture of Matt and I as younger people. This is Emeka Ogbo. He is the artist whose art piece that they wanted me to work on. He's a good-looking Nigerian dude. He's great, and he's super talented and has really good ideas. I had a meeting with him and Paul, and they said, hey, we want to build this thing. And they sent me this sketch, and they said, we'd like something like this. And so I was like, okay. And Emeka's not a technical dude, and that was a fun meeting, because I was like, well, I feel like Emeka's not a technical dude, and I was talking to Paul, and I was trying to feel out the job, and I'm like, so am I just doing this whole project? And Paul's like, yeah. So that's when I learned to really work with artists who have good ideas, who just kind of let me do my thing, and I just have to check back with them and see what's going on. So there's a lot of trust in the relationship of being a technical designer. So, took that sketch, and then, you guys like the animations? Pretty good, like the little slides, it's nice, yeah, okay. So I designed this system. It was a 36 speaker audio output system, and they got, it was gonna be on the roof of the public library. Or not the roof, the terrace. Roof sounds like it's on the roof, but there's like a nice terrace there. 36 speakers, each individual outputs, and they wanted a 12-person choir to sing a classical piece that was written about Logan Square in the late 40s. It was like an orchestral piece, and we had an arranger come in and turn it into a choir piece, which is crazy, because I'd never done anything like this. So I'm like looking for arrangers, looking for choirs, hiring studios for this, setting up speakers in my studio to like make sure this all works. So I did that, and then this is me in the studio. We recorded a Philly poet named Ursula Rucker was part of the project. If you don't know Ursula, she's an amazing poet. She's been around forever. She is very Philadelphia. And she's someone I really looked up to, and I really liked her music, and now we're friends, and it's super weird to me that we get to hang out. So we did this recording session in the studio. Mecca came into town, and it was one of the best recording sessions I ever did. This is Ursula in the booth. Ursula kind of came in. This is her triumphantly after recording. She like rode over in Uber, and I think she was still writing her poem like on the way over. And she just went in the booth and started recording, and I had a mock-up of the choir before we recorded it, and everyone in the room got chills. Like the hairs on our arms started standing up, and it was one of the coolest moments ever. And we all looked at each other like, is this happening? And then Ursula came out of the booth when she was done, like kicked open the door and was like, yo, did y'all feel that? It was truly one of the most magical moments of my life. It was so cool. And then I got to listen to that poem like over and over again for months as I did it, and I never got sick of it. Just wanted to show you that Emeka's really tall. So I'm like 6'2", and look how tall he is. So I don't know if that's important to the project, but I just want to point that out. He's a really tall dude. Okay, so this is us recording the choir. That was super fun. I had to give them direction, and it's really fun giving direction to people that are amazingly good singers and then telling them they're doing it wrong. So that was fun, but they were really nice about it. This is my friend John Gregg built the speaker boxes and the things. So, because one of the other things that they said at the library, they said, yeah, you can do this here, but we have events all the time, so this whole thing needs to be portable. So not only does it have to be 36 speaker, you also have to be able to move it. So that was fun. So we had to make it on wheels. And then I had to set it up back in the studio where I'm at. This is the back loading dock, because where do you put a 25-foot long audio installation? You put it on the back dock. And I think there's audio for this. So this is the piece. The people in the studio space of the warehouse all came out like it was like a Pied Piper thing. It was really cool. And everybody's like, what is this? And I was like, okay, this is gonna work. It was like a nice test. So this is kind of like the piece, choir, Ursula. All right, so that's what it looked like. Installed, this was the opening party. It was super cool. A lot of my friends came out, and like, look at that view. How cool was that? It was a pretty magical moment. And I was like, yeah, this is a job. Like, you can do this for a living. Someone paid me to do this. It was great. That's Paul, the head of Mine Loud. It's Ursula and me, looking super happy. All right, so then they said, can you make this a listening station for this? Can you make it outdoors? And can you make it run without power? Which is, obviously super easy. It's not. Because we only got to play it once a week, so they wanted everybody to hear it. So they said, here's some money and figure this out. So I made solar powered listening stations out of basically spare parts and laser cutting and fence posts. And we made these little things, and there was a kiosk next to it. So you could get headphones and you could just plug in, and it was playing on a loop for 24 hours. They didn't get graffitied once in Philadelphia. Just want to say I was really proud of that. So respect out to the graffiti crew who didn't tag it. That's the install crew. They were super awesome. One of those dudes in the middle is wearing a shirt with Ursula Rucker on it, just coincidentally. So that was a cool moment. Then my next big company that I got started with was a company called Clip Collective. So Clip Collective is run by my friend Ricardo Rivera. I thought the arrow would be helpful in case you thought it was the cup or somebody else. Ricardo and I have been friends for a long time, and I did music for a project they did at Longwood Gardens called Nightscape. I did it with my friend Julian, was the guy I was in the suit with in the other picture. We did music, and I started doing tech stuff, and I was doing freelance, and I wasn't super busy. I didn't have a lot of work, and I actually went on a job interview. I think it was the only job interview I've ever been on in my life. I didn't get it. It was the only resume I ever wrote. But it didn't work out. And so I was in my kitchen, and I was talking to my wife, and she's like, maybe you should call Ricardo and see what if he's got any work. I was like, he's got a crew. He's got a whole people. He doesn't need me. And then in the middle of the conversation, the phone rang, and it was Ricardo. I was literally mid-sentence talking about him. I picked it up, and I said, hey, buddy, what's going on? He said, hey, listen, I just split with my partner for a business and all that stuff. He's like, I'm putting together a crew. Do you want to come work with us? Which was the coolest thing ever. And I said, yeah, man, I've been dropping hits for 6 months. He's like, cool, I'll see you on Wednesday. So then I started working for Clip. Ricardo goes, hey, here's a drawing of LED lights, and here's this structure of crystal, this crystal lighting structure. I didn't know, he didn't tell me that. I'm sorry, I'm giving him too much credit. He said, go with Phoebe, the intern, to this warehouse. Those were the instructions. So I went with Phoebe to this warehouse, and this was here, and they said, build this. I'd never done a lighting thing in my life. It took me 45 minutes to do my first solder, but the next one only took 25 minutes, and then the next one took 10. And so I didn't know anything about this. And then I built this, which is super cool. This was in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was on this canal thing. But yeah, I built that without knowing anything about lighting. And then I got pretty good at it to the point where they had a second one, and they brought it to the Desert Botanical Garden where the clip had a large exhibit. And I'm going to say this on video. Ricardo probably not going to watch this, but Ricardo messed it up. He was supposed to install it by himself, and he plugged in everything wrong and burnt the whole structure out. So they flew me to Scottsdale to fix this, and I fixed it in 3 days without knowing anything about it. And it was like the first time in my life where my imposter syndrome just went away. I was like, I know what I'm doing. So for like 20 minutes, I felt like pretty good about myself. So now I'm a lighting guy. I didn't know anything about it, and now I'm a guy that does lighting. So Ricardo's like, oh, we have these really big projects coming up. So the first lighting project I ever designed was a 50-foot walkway bridge at the Gallery Mall. It's like 0 to 1,000. Like, I didn't make a little tiny project. I literally had to do this giant bridge. It's still up. It's super cool. Thank God that the 76ers didn't take that over and then they didn't knock this building down. So that was good. But that's pretty cool, right? Like, it's pretty neat. So it was a pretty massive scale to do that. This is me putting it up. So another thing that happened was when we did the project, the person who hired Clip to do this, we said, hey, this is the mall. This has got to be a union thing. And they were like, no, it's an art project. And I was like, I don't know. This feels like a union thing. And then they're like, oh, no, it's fine. And then we got there, and the union rep was like, hey, what's up? So we couldn't use any of our crew. They were super nice. The union guys were great. And it ended up being me and a union electrician that built it. It was supposed to take us 5 days. It took me 2 weeks. But the guy was great. He was awesome. Best dude ever. And he let me do work when I wasn't supposed to be doing because there was like union rules. But he was great. So me and this dude built this whole thing. It had an awesome safety vest, which is pretty cool. At the same time, I designed this dance floor for this place called Photo Club. We were supposed to do it like back to back, like do the one and do the other, but because of the timing, I would have to go and work at the bridge all day from like 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. and then come here and work here for a couple hours. So it was exhausting. This is also the only time, and I'm pretty lucky at this, that I electrocuted myself. Because I was trying to leave on vacation for this, and I hooked something up and I picked something up. So it's the first and last time I, so far, have electrocuted myself. But it looks really good, right? It's pretty neat. So, more cool stuff with cool people. I'm gonna stand by the lectern because I feel like the thing's gonna work better. So this is a project I did. This is a grounds for sculpture. It was in Trenton with Clip Collective, this thing called Night Forms. We hung these crazy light stalks off the building. This is super cool, watch this. So it's a forced perspective sculpture. So it looks like this giant thing from the side, but then when you line it up, it makes this cool shape. So there's lights and audio, and then there's projection stuff on the trees behind it. Super cool. I'm gonna really overuse the adjective cool today, so just forewarning, even though you've read it about 30 times, I'm just gonna say it like 100 more times. What else? This is, another thing, grounds for sculpture. We did these little uplights in the trees. There's this tree walkway they made, so we put a bunch of lights that lit everything up, and it's all synced to music. Julian, my friend Julian Graff, who I mentioned earlier that I make music with, was a band with, he is the music director for Clip. So he writes all the music, and I design all the systems that the music play on, which is fun. So we're basically kind of still in a band. This was night visions at the Nashville Zoo, Tennessee. This is like a cool neon walkway bridge we did. This, on one side of this was a kangaroo petting area, and they had these old kangaroos that just like hung around and like showed their bellies so you could go up and pet them. And the other side was a cassowary, which we call the murder turkey, because it looks like a dinosaur and it is known for disemboweling humans. It has like these claws. So yeah, it was super fun hanging out on that side, because if I fell in, I was afraid I was gonna die. I had a staring moment with the cassowary once. I like hopped the fence, and there was chicken wire in between us, but I didn't think the chicken wire was effective, and I had this weird moment where I thought I was gonna get killed by a cassowary, but it was fine, we worked it out. This was this bamboo forest. We attached all these tube lights to bamboo. And then it did this cool little light show, and there's music. That was super fun. This is the family court building. This overlooks Love Park. So this is super cool because it's right downtown. And this plays every night from 5:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. And it's this cool light show, and I can control this with my phone. So as a party trick, I will occasionally change colors just because I can. But it's cool because it's so big. It's like a massive, 4-story kind of thing. This is David Gwynn. So David Gwynn is a cool muralist. He has about 30 murals in the city. There is a 99% chance that if you've seen a mural in the city, could be David's. He's done a lot of stuff, like the Shake Shack in Rittenhouse. There's like a mural on top of it. He did that. They're just like everywhere. But he's done a bunch of murals where he has lighting integrated into it, and he works with our friend Drew Billiou, who was also super helpful with that walkway bridge that I made. Since I had no idea that what I was doing was correct or was actually going to work, we brought Drew in, and Drew gave me the thumbs up and gave me the confidence to keep doing that. And now I work with Drew on all kinds of projects, which is great. So David Gwynn, if you walk inside, the mural out front, that's David Gwynn. The pattern is you walk in the front doors. So this is in Miami. Yes, at the Hiley House in Miami. We did another project that we just finished a couple weeks ago. This is at Schuylkill Yards, which is, where the Bolt bus picks you up by 30th Street, that little turn? Anybody know that? It's like right behind 30th Street. But anyway, this cool thing, it has sensors on it, but I'll get more into that later. But basically, when you walk by it, it'll change the pattern on the wall. This is me and my computer programming it, and this is me on a ladder fixing the sensors. That is my 2005 Toyota Matrix, which is the greatest car in the world, and it's 210,000 miles, still going strong. It's important to have good tools for this job. This is Time Loop, Crystal Bridges. This is, there's lighting and projection. It's another like outdoor clip collector thing. It's in Bentonville, Arkansas. And I'm actually going back out there in 2 or 3 weeks to reset this up for year 2. And we have all kinds of cool additions. So if you happen to be in Bentonville, Arkansas, the corporate headquarters of Walmart, you could check out the Walmart Museum and our exhibit. So this is cool. This is like a structure that has like projection on the inside and outside. There's lights and there's sound. And as you walk through it, it does like a time delay thing. So you could like dance with the camera and then you walk outside and like 5 minutes later, your dancing video will come back up. It's pretty neat. I also still did a lot of audio because I became a lighting guy and that just was super lucrative. So I just kept going with that. But I do a lot of audio. Emeka, the artist that I got started working with, we've done at least a dozen projects all over the world. We did a project, this multi-speaker project in Baden-Baden, Germany. I didn't see it, but I designed it remotely and sent the audio files and made them in my house in Ardmore. And then he had me send files to a group of people that were setting it up because we did a couple different iterations. He didn't tell me who the people were, where it was going. He just said, I'll send the files. It was in the MoMA. So now it's in the permanent collection of the MoMA in New York, which was super cool. And my friend, I didn't know about it until my friend Matt told me, the guy in the picture, in the wine bottle picture. He told me about it. I went in with my family to look at it, and I had an emotional moment where I was listening to the audio, and I was like, oh my God, I made this in my house. And it was just a really great moment until my kids go, I'm bored! And then we had to leave. But if you want to see it, it's in the permanent collection, and you can just go. It's a really cool space. It's like gigantic, and I just know that I sound designed this in my house. This is in the Cleveland Museum of Art. That is a 35-foot tree made of Nigerian hand-woven fabric patterns. There are speakers at the top of that. These little things right here, they are also speakers. And then there's a weird little indoor bamboo forest, and there's speakers in that. So we had a choir. Each one of those speakers was a choir person. And then there was like a drum track, and those are wireless because they also do events in there. Piece of trivia, this place was designed by the same guy that designed the Kimmel Center. And this was also the lobby of S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters in Captain America Winter Soldier. So, great place to work. But yeah, this was like a super fun technical feat. But the cool thing about this job was I was supposed to be there for 2 days. But the people that were setting up the audio who I didn't hire kept screwing up. So I was there for 6 days. And I got paid to just hang out on a beanbag chair and do some light programming. And it was so fun to do that and to get paid for it. So that was a good part of the job. I just want to mention Emeka and I have worked on so many projects, and we have such a good common language, which is really nice with an artist when you can just trust, they trust you and you trust them, and they can give you simple instructions. This is us FaceTiming. This is him in bed and me also in bed, FaceTiming from Philly to Berlin. Actually, I was in Ocean City on vacation. So it's good to develop relationships with the artists that you work with to the point where you're comfortable enough to be speaking shirtless in bed with each other. It just makes things flow a lot better. This is another Monument Lab project. This is on the National Mall in DC. It was the longest running, still is, it only happened last year, longest running art installation on the National Mall. This was up for like a month. This was a 3 separate area audio installation. They played music and all kinds of stuff, and this is me with my trademark floppy hat so I don't get sunburn, because you can't see this in the dark, or maybe you can because I'm so pale, but I'm very prone to sunburn. This picture's actually sweet. My friend took this, and my dad actually printed this out and framed it for me and gave it to me for Christmas, and I feel like after all these decades, my dad might kind of know what I do for a living from this. So that was really nice. But it was cool. It was like a cool little thing, and it ran on a schedule, and but working, in the shadow of the Washington Monument is pretty cool.
What about the scooter?
Oh, the scooter. That's great. So the scooter, this is a good aside, I'll mention this. Ricardo and I were working, we were going to do grounds for sculpture in Trenton. We did it for 3 years. And a lot of these garden projects, it's really hard because you have to walk great distances to the different areas. And they give you golf carts, but there's like 3 golf carts and like 15 people. So Ricardo and I said, let's get scooters. So I got this scooter. We call it Scoots. It is essentially like a member of the crew, and it is great when you have to go from one place to the next. That is literally on every job that I fly to places. Bentonville was inconvenient to fly, so I have a second one, Scoots Jr., which is currently in Bentonville, and will fly back when the job is done. It's a great call out there, Colin, thank you. I didn't want to forget about a major person. So I also compose music for things. I write stuff, but I'm not going to make you listen to them now because that would totally mess up the flow. It's like if a guy's like, yo, you got to hear my band, and then forces you to listen to it for 3 minutes while you stand there and go, no, this is cool, I like this. So I'm not going to do that. But just trust me, I make a lot of music. So projection and video, sure, why not? So people were asking me, hey, do you projection? You had a clip, do you do that? I'm like, yeah, sure. So that's what I do. So Emeka asked me to do a thing at Haverford College, which was this immersive video thing. It was 3 walls. I also did like a quad sound thing. But this was another great thing with Emeka, of us being good friends, where he said, this is what I want. And Matthew Callahan, my old friend, who's the curator, he's like, okay. So during the process, I was like, okay, I'm going to take out this speaker. I'm going to change this thing. And he's like, do you have to check with the artist? And I'm like, no. He's like, you don't have to check with the artist on his own piece. I'm like, no, he trusts me, it's fine. And then Emeka came on site, and he looked at it, and I go, what do you think? He's like, great, man, no notes. And that was it. And Matt was in shock. But that's why it's good to have relationships. So this is super cool. There's a town there's a section in Lagos, Nigeria, called Ojulegba, and it's like a marketplace, and there's people selling stuff. It's like a really cool area. So he recorded a bunch of footage. He gave me a whole ton of footage, and then he has this album of music. So we had 5 songs that were randomly played, and then they had 3 timelines that kind of went to the beat. And so every time a certain beat would hit on the timelines, 3 different timelines, it would change the video, but it would randomly select it. So you'd never see the same show twice. So it would randomly play songs and then randomly play. So it's like you're watching a live music video every single time you watch it. This was super fun. I worked on this with my friend Kevin and my friend Florian, and we had a great time making it. And like I said, it was great to work with an artist who's just like, do this thing. And you're like, okay. So it was a super fun process. This is the Declaration House. I'm going to talk more about this later, but these are the filmed eyes of Thomas Jefferson's black descendants. There's a much heavier depth to this piece, but I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to talk about how there's giant eyeballs in the windows. This ran for about 9 months at an old city area, and there's some eyeballs in the back, but I'm going to talk more about this project in a minute, but it looks super cool. This was cool because when you do a computer rendering of stuff, see what it looks like, and this basically looks like the computer rendering, which is super hard to do. This is super cool. So I hang out with a friend of mine, who I'll talk about later, my friend Tom, and we went to the amusement park convention called IAPA, which is a weird thing to go to. They have a whole parking lot section of bouncy houses, and I'm like this close to buying a bouncy house every year. They're surprisingly not that expensive. So they were like, hey, these guys had a laser tag thing, and they're like, hey, do you want to do projection mapping on the outside of this laser tag thing? And I'm like, yes. Like, I love Ricardo, and I love the artists I work with. There's a lot of heavy, deep things. But yo, this is like snakes and like volcanoes. I timed the lights so they would match up with the patterns in the screen, and if there's lightning in the sound design, then the lightning flashes with the lights. There's, water coming over the fake bricks. Like, it was super cool, and it was fun to just do something that was just like not cool, but also cool. So this is the Otherworld part of the show. I'm on time. I'm great on time. Oh, great. This is the Otherworld part. I'm going to talk about Otherworld. So, my friend Tom Kanavi. So Tom he's like I don't even know how to describe Tom, but he builds like escape rooms, and he does like crazy systems and like sensors, and he's just like a super smart dude. I was working on a project for Clip at this like haunted house thing maybe, and I designed this lighting thing, and I was like sitting on the ground and I'm working on the lighting, and he's looking at me, and a lot of times people look at what I'm doing, and I love to talk about what I do, obviously. So I was like, hey, you want to know what this stuff is? He goes, no, I know exactly what that is. And I was like, yo, can we hang out? Because nobody knows what I'm talking about ever. So we hung out, became good buds. He ended up moving to Ardmore, where I live. So now we're neighbors, and we work on all kinds of stuff. We did this thing at CHOP, this cool little lighting thing, and then that's over there, this like the Museum of Energy, I forget what it's called, but that little like wall with the stuff. He made a sensor, so when you walk up to it, it plays like lighting patterns, and I designed the whole lighting system and the patterns and all that stuff. He built this thing for Clip Collective. Somebody else built a thing, but he designed the system. So this is projections on a structure, but behind it, you see the other projections. With that controller, you can control the projections, so they would move and all that stuff. It's not up anymore, but if it was up, I could tell you that there's an Easter egg. You could do the Konami code, like up, left, down, A, B, and it would do like a crazy Easter egg thing, which is kind of fun. But Tom designs that kind of stuff. He's like, here, this thing will talk to your other thing. He also designed the sensors for the David Gwynn thing. This is the Easter egg on that. So if you walk by, it'll trigger certain sections. But if you run by it within 10 seconds, that wave will follow you, whatever direction that you go. So if you're bored and you're behind 32 Station doing, I don't know who knows what you do behind 32 Station, you can run by that and it would do stuff. So Tom said, hey, I have these guys that have this place called Otherworld, and they want to design, so they want to do some stuff. He's like, I want to hire you to do some R&D. So he's like, I want a cube lighting setup that does 3-dimensional light mapping. So that's like a ball of light that is in this thing. Obviously, it's a prototype. They never ended up using it here, but now I know how to do it. So if somebody wants a cube in their house, let me know. I already made the system. So that was the first start. Tom's like, all right. And then he said, hey, can you do lighting mapping, so I should define terms real quick. Pixel mapping is when you basically have lights in a pattern, and then they're mapped out in a certain way so you can run designs and patterns through them, so like video. So it's like you can say, okay, on this light, it's over in this corner, and because you know where the lights are, if you did like a white wave, like on that picture, it'll be perfectly laid out how you have it on the lights. So that's pixel mapping. So he's like, hey, can you do pixel map content on this room? Called the forced perspective room. So has anyone been in this room? It's like right over there. So it's a cool room. You go in there, and if it's closed, the whole room is sepia tone. It makes it look like it's black and white. If there's I forget the name of the bulb is in there. Yes, thank you. So many smart people in this room. But when you open it, the lights, everything gets colorful and you can see all the stuff. So all that stuff on the windows is all just lights, and then my friend Kevin and I made the content, and we, mapped out the lights, and it's this cool thing. So we did it, and they were like, oh, that was super cool. They're like, hey, we have this other area with projection mapping called City Square. We already kind of have the setup. Do you want to do the content for it? So we did the projection mapping for it. So it's this cool little thing. There's part of the lore of Otherworld in there. There's like little clues for the whole puzzle that's part of this place. But we kind of made it like very like techy, but also kind of like organic. The reason we have the projector stuff in there because Otherworld was like, hey, do you want to work with Optima, this company that we got projectors from, and do like case studies? So now I'm buddies with projector people because that's where I'm at in life. So yeah, there's cool projectors all over. It's like a thing, you can walk by it. Then they asked me to do this over here. This is temple interior. So the smoke's not on. I should have mentioned that to you, Matt, about the smoke, but that's fine. It's very hard to photograph that room, but essentially there is a path on the floor, and if there's a lot of smoke, then it becomes this sort of tunnel setup, which is pretty cool. So when you walk through, you're kind of walking through this like light smoke tunnel thing. It was great. We didn't have smoke when I was testing it, so my friend B, who was working on this, I said, B, you vape, right? B's like, yeah. So I had B vape and then blow smoke at the projection beam so I could make sure that it was working. And then months later, they got the smoke set up, and it looked super cool. But it's hard to photograph. It's hard to photograph, hard to video. They added this new stuff, which is really cool. So they added stuff on the side, like this little side projection things, which I love. So like we had this very basic, simple setup because Otherworld's like, we don't have any money and we don't have any resources. Can you do this thing real quick? And I was like, okay, 2 projectors done. But they added some new stuff as they go on, which is a testament to the folks here at Otherworld just constantly improving this place and adding new designs and just really cool stuff. So I was designing stuff as we go along, and then Tom's like, yo, this was 2 years ago, right? 2-year anniversary, is that right? Yeah. Tom was like, yo, how many days do you have in June open? I was like, I don't know why. And he goes, I will take all of them. I need you, we got to finish this Otherworld project. It's months behind. We got to get this done. So he said, I'm just going to bring you in. And I said, what am I doing? He goes, I don't know. So I go in, and then he's like, I'm like, just put me on stuff that's broken, and I'll fix it. But then part of me was like, oh, yeah, that's some shit talking. I really hope I can back that up. So this room wasn't working. The lights weren't working. And so I went in, and I messed around, and I got my computer, and I got it working. And I felt great about myself. So I was like, all right, I guess I can deliver. So then they just started throwing other stuff at me. When I was doing research for this to see like what I worked on, I opened up my Google Drive folder, and I had like 15 folders because I apparently worked on so many areas like just troubleshooting or doing stuff. So I got my hands all over the place. Don't worry, I watched them, it's fine. So I fixed this one. Then this room behind us, Jesterhead, this guy right here. Sorry if I shot you with the laser. There's an attic thing. There's like lights and these baffling things over there. They were like, we need to put LED lights in this, and we have lights in this Jesterhead, but we got to program it. And they said, and Tom said, I said, all right, well, how much time do I have? He goes, 2 weeks. And I was like, I have 2 weeks to do this whole thing? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, ugh. So I talked to the crew. So the crew consisted of a lot of people that I already worked with. Because Tom called me and he goes, who are the best people you work with? And I gave him a list of people that I work with. And so it was all my friends there and all the people that I knew that were really good at their jobs and had done installations for me. And I said, and this is the thing that I do on jobs now, if I'm working with people that are good, I say, what is the least amount of information I need to give you for you to do this? And they said, you just need to draw it out and give us these numbers. And I was like, cool. And I spent 2 hours making a diagram, and they just made it because they're super smart. So when you work with great people who are super smart, it makes your job easier and you can be lazier. This was funny too. My friend Tony was trying to wire this, and he had like this whole mess of wires, and he was trying to hook this up in a really cheap way. He's like, I can do this with this $15 part. And I was like, it's not working. And he's like, yeah, but I can do it. And so I said, fine. So, and they didn't have any money for parts. We were running out of budget. So I had a LED controller in my bag, as one does. And I hooked it up, and I said, cool, it's fixed. Let's move on. So I did that one. And then, what else do I got here? This was, all right, you gotta help me. What is this room called? I'm gonna show you the room. Maybe tell me it's done. So this was what they gave me. They said, here are lights and numbers, and here are some addresses. I need you to make this work. And that was this area. What's that called?
Courtyard Garden.
Courtyard Garden. Okay, I didn't know. I put the question mark because I wasn't sure. There was a lot of like fake names when we were building it. But I got it working, and it was a pain in the butt, but it works. And since then, they've made it much better, so I'm hoping that they fixed my okay work. Then they were like, here's another piece of paper. We need you to get this to work, and we don't have any wires to hook up the data for the lights, so you need to make it wireless. So I had a device in my bag that I could turn into a wireless lighting controller, so as one does. So then I became this room. Is this Reflections?
Yeah.
That's Reflections? Okay, so I got the name right. So I did that room. This room, what's this called? Is this Warehouse?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, nailed it on this one, great. This one was fun. My friend Tony, who did this little Jesterhead thing, couldn't get it working, was testing the lights in the ceiling, which do these cool patterns. And he turned it all on white. White is, for those who don't know this, if you're doing white in LEDs, it's all of the colors on at the same time. so it uses the most amount of power. So he was trying to troubleshoot this, and it was like glitching out. It was doing all this weird stuff. And I was like, what do you have a problem with? He showed me, and I go, okay, we're thinking about it. And I go, Tony, is this ever going to be all white? And he's like, no. And I go, then it's fixed. And it's been fine ever since. Guys, don't turn it white. Don't turn it white, and you'll never have any problems. So sometimes you got to like hack things a little bit and be like, I guess it works. So this is fun. This is Utter Delight. Utter Delight. I forget what I did in this, not much, but I was here with my family during like opening night or something, or maybe just another random night, and Maddie was having trouble with it. So I get underneath this, we start pulling off the panel, and I'm trying to help him troubleshoot this thing, and my family was like, what are you doing? Are you working? I was like, no, and then I had to like run off and take care of it. So, but you know, that's how invested I am in this stuff. Yeah, exactly. I love you too. Then I worked on some other stuff, the names I don't remember. Fractal Temple Exterior, I do remember that. I don't remember what I did here, but I think it was like some pixel mapping. The lobby, does that lobby have a name? No. Just the lobby? Okay, so I did the original content for that. So I work with people like Ricardo Rivera who do amazing content. And I told Tom Kanabe, I said, who's doing the content for this? He's like, you're doing it. And I was like, dude, I don't really do it. He's like, no, just do the content. So I like worked something up and I did it. And Tom's like, yeah, it looks great. What's fucking Ricardo spending all that time on? So it worked, it was fine. Sometimes the simple stuff works. Those large light bulbs behind us, what are they called, bamboo forests? Yeah, so I did troubleshooting on those. Bats, I don't think they even has a name, but those weird bat things. Yeah, if you walk around and see bats with lights behind them, I'll do that. And then other stuff. I was even on TV. When they opened this, I don't have the caption, but the one that said room designer, which made me sound way cooler than I am. I'm actually wearing the same shirt, except it's buttoned. I need to go clothes shopping. So I was on, I was saying earlier that the Otherworld guys are from Ohio, and so there's a lot of stuff about Philly they don't know. And they were like, oh, so you're gonna be talking to WPVI? I'm like, it's called Channel 6, dog. Channel 6, it's not PVI. But yeah, so I was on that, it was a Sunday show, it's pretty cool. But look at all these cool people. So these are my friends that like worked on this project, and look how much fun we're having. We're in that room that's named I don't remember, but you can go into it's like all infinity. But we had so much fun, and like all of these people are my friends, and it didn't feel like working because we just, you know, like had a good time. Which leads me to this section. How did I do this? How can you make cool stuff with cool people? So I'm going to give you my guidelines of how I think you can pull this off, because I think this is how I pulled it off. So, curiosity. I'm always learning stuff all the time. That's my favorite part of the job. So, you guys watch Ted Lasso? This quote was on here, Ted Lasso. He was doing the dart thing, and he said, be curious, never judgmental. Walt Whitman quote. It's not Walt Whitman. So making the slide turned into a great lesson about curiosity. I wanted to cite it properly. So I looked it up to make sure I was writing it correctly. And then I found out it's not Walt Whitman at all. It was like the Charlotte Observer in the 1980s had like an article and that was in it. So I just kept digging down the hole, but Walt Whitman has a lot of amazing quotes. Like, I am large, I contain multitudes. To me, every hour of the day and night is an unspeakably perfect miracle. It's like my spirit animal. I have learned to be with those I like is enough. Let your shoulders stand cool and composed before a million universes, and your flesh shall be a great poem. What? This guy's great. Got a bridge named after him? It's awesome. So, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I made this slide and I was just spot checking it, and it took me down this whole rabbit hole of all this cool stuff that I learned. So, I don't know what the point of the slide is. I did this is in Chicago at House of Bands, but it looks cool while I talk about it. But essentially, like, I love learning, and so my job is to professionally learn how to do cool stuff, and I think it's pretty much for everybody. Everybody likes learning. Like, think of the thing you like the most, whether it's sports or whatever, and think about when you learn something new about it. Some news happens, and you're like, oh, good, and you get so excited. That, you know, I get paid for that. It's great. So, second part, enjoy the journey, not just the ending. So, I really like doing this stuff, and I like when it's finished, but I like doing it just as much as I like seeing it finished. So my friend Pia, you like the animation there too? My friend Pia said something once, and she said, you shouldn't do the thing that you love for a living. You should do the thing you enjoy doing the boring parts of. She's not famous, but she will be probably at some point. She's great. And I think that's really great. Like, that's a great way to think of things, because everybody's like, I want to be a musician, or I want to be a painter, I want to do that stuff. But like, there's a lot of annoying stuff that you have to do to do that kind of work. Here is me in hooking up wires at the Nashville Zoo, and plugging in things. I love this shit. Like, I will do this all day. Like, I love this. Here's me sitting in the dirt on my laptop at Grounds for Sculpture, programming some lights, sitting really in an awkward position because I can't sit cross-legged properly. Oh, by the way, just a short note, that is my gas station jacket that I still use, because it's made of 1,000% polyester and it never really gets dirty. So enjoy the journey. I think that's the important part, is like, just, you're never going to be sad, because I know a lot of people that I work with, they finish the project and then they get bummed out because they're like, oh, it's over, and there's this sort of like letdown. I'm just looking for the next thing. I'm excited, I enjoy that we did it, and then I'm moving on to the next thing. Someone asked me once, why am I always in such a good mood? And I didn't think about it, I just blurted stuff out, because obviously I just blurt stuff out all the time. And someone's like, what's your secret? And I said, low expectations. I have zero expectations for things all the time, so I get super excited about everything. So like, I'll have like a piece of pizza that's really good. I'm like, damn, did you have this pizza? It's so good. I'm just constantly excited because I don't expect anything from anything. So constant joy of exceeding low expectations. Just set your bar low and you're always just gonna be happy all the time. This is number 3. Be flexible and open to change, aka be cool to be around. So, this is the Declaration House, the project I talked to you about before. So this project was fun. The artist who designed it is a fabrics artist, and Monument Lab likes to take artists who've never done work in a technical way and say, dream big, which is great, but also they have no idea what they're talking about, and then it turns into a huge thing. They want to do projection on this building, and I was like, do you have $350,000? And they're like, no. I'm like, then you're not projecting on this building. So we looked at the thing, I said, what are you trying to do? And they said, we're trying to get eyeballs in the windows. And I said, why don't you just use a bunch of TVs and turn them sideways? So that's what we did. We did a test. We got a regular standard 55-inch TV and put it in the window at like dusk in the wintertime. And the curator was like, great. Everyone signed off on it. They're like, this looks amazing. So fast forward, I ordered a bunch of 14 TVs, 14 75-inch TVs, these special heavy-duty stands. We set it all up, 3 days. We're like, we knocked the hell out of this. This is great, super hot. Curator goes, I can't really see this in the daytime. And I was like, yeah, we tested this at night. Like, I'm a guy that does night stuff. Lighting, it's kind of lots of at night. And I go, yeah, you kind of have to do it. We tested this at night. Like, everyone signed off on it. And he's like, how do we do this in the daytime? And I said, well, there are special outdoor high brightness TVs. They cost 10 times as much as the TVs we have. But yeah, we could do it. He said, can we get one to test? So we got one, we tested it. He's like, this is great. Let's find 14 of them. So we went to every Best Buy and I tracked them down, and our project manager was amazing, and they like got a van, picked everything up. And I was in Vegas at a trade show, because I'm a dude who goes to trade shows now. And they were like, can we get 4 more? Is there enough power? I was like, yeah. So we did 4 more windows on the side over there. And then we set it up, and everybody was super psyched. It looked great. And then the artist came, and she's like, I like this. Why are the TVs so far away from the window? And I said, well, the TVs are 130 pounds, so you're going to tip over on the stands if you don't do it. So I was like, technically you could turn around, but we need about 3,000 pounds of sand to weigh everything down. And the project manager was like, cool, we'll have it tomorrow. So we took everything down again, put it all back up, and then it came out to this. And every part of that process was important. And nobody complained. Nobody was like, ugh, it's 99 degrees. We got to do this again. We took it down 3 times. Everybody was like, cool, let's just keep going. And if you're flexible and open to change, and you're fun to be around, and you're cool on a job, then people are going to want to hang out with you and do stuff because you're adaptable and you're flexible. I mean, there's people I've worked with who are really good at their jobs, but I don't want to spend 10 hours a day with them because I want to have fun, because I want to be with these dudes hanging out in Kentucky. JR, that guy's a legend. He's amazing. That's my boy Sid, who I work with on 1 million jobs. That's my friend Chris. a lot of these jobs are just sitting around and you're hanging out with people and you're spending time working hours and hours with them. So you got to be like, hey, we got to do this thing differently now. And they're like, okay, cool people. Be cool. This is me talking to the electrician. This is like us hanging out. This is, where's John? Are you here? John's over there. This is my buddy John. We're working on this thing. He's doing this video. It was super fun. Like, you're just, and he was like, hey, I want to try this different thing. That's what we tried. So on these jobs, you know, I just want people to have a good time. Joy enabler goes back to my other job. Look how happy we are. This is Sid and some other folks. Oh, there's Jess. Jess is over there. Jess is in there. You're here a couple times, Jess. That's me and Sid. They made me, I didn't want to go out because I was super lame and I was really tired, and they forced me to go out to Santa's pub in Nashville. And then Sid and I took these adorable photo booth photos, which are on my refrigerator right now. Look, there's us getting ice cream again. Like, just hanging out with your friends, be cool, be fun to be around, have fun during the job. This is me giving Randon, who also worked in here, he didn't have a multi-tool, so I bestowed it upon him like a knight getting a sword, because I don't know, I'm a weird person to do stuff like that. That's Sid and I, we always take photos where we're pointing at stuff. We're not actually pointing at anything, but anytime it's like, we need some behind the scenes photos, we just point at stuff, because we feel like that looks like an action shot. Here's Emeka hugging this giant tree. Here's all of us watching this cool projection thing in Nashville. This is us having dinner at Cleveland Museum of Art when I was supposed to be there for 2 days and I stayed for 6. We were at the head of exhibit's house and having dinner, and it was super fun. This is us having dinner. So yeah, when you're working, be a cool person to be around and like have fun, because that's, like I said, you got to spend time with these people. And then collaborate with cool people. So if you're fun to be around, you find other fun people and you do cool stuff with them. I've been in a lot of bands. That's my friend Kirsten. I was in this band called Red Letter. This is my friend Billy. We were in this band called Mokita. I just saw Billy 4 hours ago. It's great. This is us having fun. This thing at House of Vans in Chicago, this weird like Vans grid that we made. This is a very Philly video. This is how you properly christen a sculpture in Philadelphia. You do the electric slide. This is what you want to do for your job. You just want to dance and do cool stuff. And you collaborate with cool people. A lot of cool people that have done stuff at Otherworld. This is Big Hal. This is guys that did one of the rooms in here who are coming. When are they coming? Saturday? Saturday, Big Hal's coming. Great dudes. Super fun to hang out with. They do cool stuff. This is Dalton. Is that you over there? Dalton over there. Work on the David Gwynn thing. 10th floor crew. It's just work with your friends. What else? This is Express Newark. These are some friends of mine who run a gallery up in Newark, and they make me feel like family when I go there, and it's super fun to work with them, and it just feels like I'm getting paid to hang with my friends. Sometimes you have to work with animals. That's the murder turkey, the cassowary, and that is flamingos, which are, and I work a lot with peacocks. It's really weird, but the flamingos, and I'm not saying this to mock flamingos, but their trainer said this, they're dumb as shit. So they're the dumbest birds. They're so dumb. But so they were just freaking. Let me see if I go back inside. So you hear them freaking out. When the lights were changing, they were freaking out. So I was like, hold on, and I changed it to a slow fade pattern, and they stopped freaking out. So if you ever want to soothe a freaking out flamingo, slow rainbow color fade. So I think I'm doing good on time. All right. In summary, be curious. Let that animation happen. Wait, is that? All right, be curious. Enjoy the journey. Be flexible, aka be cool to be around, and collaborate with cool people. That's, I feel like, how I ended up doing this. Bonus tips. Back up everything. Back up your data. If you're like, oh, my computer died, I lost everything. Come on, get it together. Drink lots of water. Like, so important to drink water. Like, I'm dying right now. I should have taken a sip like an hour ago, but yes, drink water. And if you're super pale like me, wear a lot of sunscreen, because it just makes you look old early. So, that's it. That's my talk. Thank you. Whew. That's a QR code. You can go to my website. I think there's a link to my Instagram. But I have a website that I put most of my projects on. I don't do it to show off. I just do it because I forget that I work on stuff. So it's a nice reminder that I work on something.